We've got a good old-fashioned comic book haul today, everyone. Stay tuned as we go over what I've picked up next. Welcome back, everybody. This is Rusty again with Collector Auctions, and in today's episode, we have got just a good old-fashioned comic book haul. But it's not just only comics, there's some other things here as well, and I'll show off everything that I've been picking up over the last couple weeks that aren't necessarily on my 2023 goals list. If you guys watched my last episode, you know that I focused on those books specifically for the goals list for this year. This is some other things I've been picking up, and not always comics, so stay tuned for that. But before we begin, definitely hit that like button, slap the subscribe, and click on that notification bell. That way you guys won't miss out when I put out episodes every Monday and Friday at 10 a.m. You just won't miss it. So let's get into the comic book. Okay, so like I said, it's a comic book haul today, and it's things that are not necessarily on my comic book 2023 goals list, but there's more than just comic books. And the first thing I've got right here is in this tube right here. I ended up getting this off of Whatnot from the artist Susan Micah, and it was from her own channel. Listened to one of their Whatnot shows, and they had comics that she was signing, and she had prints. She also had original artwork on there that was a little too expensive for my taste, but I wanted to get a print from her, mostly because she did not end up going to the Baltimore Comic-Con this year. She was an early guest that was listed, but she was a late cancel, so didn't get to see her in person to get some of the comics signed, but I definitely followed her on the Whatnot channel, and I ended up getting this print here. So let's bust this out, and I'll show you what I picked up. Now, this has actually been sitting there for a while, and in fact, I had not even broken this out until a few hours before I did this video, just to double check to make sure it was right. I don't know why I waited so long, but I think I was waiting for the right video to put it in. But this is the print that she had on her channel, and it's a little, I'll have to get it framed because it is definitely curled, sitting in that tube. But as you can see, it is a very beautiful illustration of the Black Cat, and as you can see down here at the bottom, you can see her Susan Micah's autograph down here. And yeah, this is actually pretty nice. I don't know what my wife's going to think when I frame this and put it on the wall, but I'll face that fire when I get to it. But that was the first thing I picked up, and as I said, I've had this sitting here for a while. We'll have to find space on the wall behind me, and again, I may have to suffer the wrath of my wife on that one. But that was not the only print that I got. I also got something right here, and this is something I did not buy. This is something I kind of asked for. It was a suggestion to my daughter, my lovely only child, who followed through with the suggestion, and I picked this up from her last night at dinner. We were doing a celebration dinner with her boyfriend, whose birthday is a couple weeks ahead of mine, and so we did a joint birthday kind of party together, just dinner really, and we exchanged a couple gifts. We got her boyfriend a nice gift, and they got me this right here. Let me show you this print. It is, sorry about the light, guys. You can see it's from J. Scott Campbell, a Danger Girl print. And it is signed right down here by J. Scott Campbell. It's right from his website. I had seen this on there. I've been wanting to get a J. Scott Campbell print from one of his greatest creations, and I was looking for one of the prints. He has several Danger Girl prints on there, and I was trying to find one that had the original 3 girls on there, and just I didn't necessarily like some of the newer illustrations. I liked some of the older stuff that was a little bit closer to the time when the book came out. Now this is actually from, I believe this is 2011, so it's not exactly when the book originally came out, but it is definitely in that Danger Girl style of J. Scott Campbell. And I remember we pulled this out at dinner, and I said, oh, I can't really show this out in public too easily. And as I'm saying that, of course, I'm opening up this portfolio to show everybody, and like, oh no, put that away. I mean, it wasn't, trust me, if I'd gotten that Black Cat poster in public, that probably would have been worse, but that was really nice. So I thank my daughter, thanks Jess, thanks Ty for the great birthday gift. I appreciate that. and I will find space on the wall for that pretty soon. But that is not the only non-comic book thing that I've got here. Now, this right here I picked up off of Whatnot from a channel called Power Hockey Camps. And I've been a frequent buyer on their channel. A lot of great comics. Sometimes the conditions are better than others. It's a hodgepodge of stuff. I've seen Golden Age, Silver Age, new comics, things like that. But one night when I was watching this, they actually had a piece of original artwork. And I'm a sucker for original artwork. I've collected a lot over the years, but not as... I've had to slow down because sometimes the prices on a lot of things have just gotten astronomical. My taste in comic book collecting, excuse me, the original art collecting, I couldn't afford to buy some of the things that I've got in the collection these days. Some of those John Buscema Avenger pages I've got. I mean, I've literally gone to shows where dealers have pages from similar issues, you know, the issues right before, right after, similar pages, and they're asking $9,000 to $12,000 for that. And I think that's outrageous. But even so, I'm not even going to come close to being able to offer on a page like that. And I've got some pages that get into that neighborhood a little bit in terms of at least style and what the content and everything. And so I've got some really good pages. I said, I can't collect those anymore. But when something pops up that strikes my interest, I will kind of look at it. And if it looks like it would be a good deal or something interesting like that, especially if the price is right, I went ahead and jumped on it. So I did this night, and it was odd. I think this was the only piece of artwork they offered that night. There's a lot of comic books, but they had this here. Let me show it to you. See if you can... Not going to be able to hold it the whole time here, but as you can see, this is a piece of original artwork. It's from a comic strip called Rule Delivery, and I've never heard of this strip, but I certainly have heard of Al Smith. Now, Al Smith worked a lot of years under Bud Fisher with Mutt and Jeff, and this is very much in that style. And this is from when is this? This is March 1, 1961, and you can definitely see some of the age on the back of it there. You can see where the glue has dried and gone through the paper. I mean, this is what you kind of expect from something that's literally over 50, 60 years old at this point. But it was, I mean, I'd honestly never heard of the strip, and I had grown up reading and enjoying a lot of comic strips over the years, old comic strips. I've got Smithsonian books reprinting a lot of the classic comic strips, so I know... I grew up reading Mutt and Jeff and Crazy Cat and Alley Oop, and I've got these books, like I said, Smithsonian books especially, that would reprint a lot of these classic stuff, but I never had heard of this. But again, it's very much in that Mutt and Jeff's vein, so I guess that would overshadow this. But Al Smith, if you guys look it up, I don't know a lot of the history with him, but I know he had his own comic book syndicate, so there were a lot of strips that they were producing. Now, I think that he did this strip himself. I think there was somebody else who was writing it, maybe. I'm not sure. Finding out the exact stuff on some of this was a little bit hard, but if you guys let me know, if you know any of the history of Al Smith and what he actually produced himself, drew or wrote himself, you can let me know, because I'd be interested to know more about that. But that was an interesting piece, and it wasn't that expensive, but one of those things, I just think it was an interesting buy, and as I said, inexpensive original artwork, especially something this old, I definitely would jump on that. In fact, I was the only buyer, the only person on that show that even put a bid in for this. Whatever they started it with, I just went ahead and put the bid in for that, and sure enough, no one else bid on this. Everybody else was interested in whatever comics they were doing, but this I actually really enjoyed. Now, we actually get to a few comic books that I've picked up recently. These were not on the list, but every week I watch Heritage Auctions, and I have a list of books on there that are on the goals list that I specifically want, if they're on there at all. But there's also, I watch the channel as the auctions go live. I sit there and watch the channel, and sometimes things of interest pop up. And if I see something of interest that I think would be good for the collection, or maybe good for resale, that I think is getting really undervalued, I may jump in on something. It's pretty dangerous to do this. I've tried to it's worse on Whatnot, but either one of them, it's one of those impulse buys, and you've got to watch that. And I've tried to pull back a lot from that. Whatnot, I've been very successful in pulling back and not watching the shows that much. But the Heritage Auctions, because I know I can find every week, I can find some of those goals books that I'm looking for. I'm on there every week, especially on Mondays and Tuesday nights for their weekly comic book sales. So I was on there a few weeks ago, and I ended up buying this. Now, I don't know why I bought this, other than that I felt like the price was really good, and I never had it. And it would have been, this would be, end up being the oldest book, the earliest book in this run that I actually own. And I got it, and I like, okay, I know it's a good minus book, but I bought it mostly for the PC. I'm not necessarily going to get it graded, but it's been always one of my favorite Doctor Doom stories from the early Fantastic Four. It's issue number 17. And I always love this one. This is right after they do the Microverse one with Ant-Man, and they come back, and Doctor Doom is right back on them with another scheme. And for whatever reason, I always loved this book. This cover, I mean, whether you like it or not, I always loved this because it put all of them into different situations. I always loved this cover, and I love this story because Doctor Doom ends up putting each of the members of the Fantastic Four in a different death trap that they have to escape. And then years later, John Byrne did the exact same sort of story in issue 246. It's a very identical cover to this, where each member again is put into a death trap by Doctor Doom. So I always love this issue. This is, as I said, one of my favorites. But this copy right here, it's a good minus copy. It's a keeper just as a reader for the most part. It wasn't that expensive, even off of Heritage Auctions, and I probably will just keep it for a while. I doubt that I would end up getting something like this graded. It's pretty rough. It is in need of a serious press, but it's got tape on the spine. And right now, maybe it might grade out to a 1.8. And if I did something like that, basically 1.8, right now, I can find one listed for $175 on eBay, but recent sales have been a lot less than that. So I doubt that I'll ever get this graded, and if I ever sell it, it'll probably just be as a raw copy that somebody else can enjoy this for a while. I know that I've already pulled this out of the bag when I actually rebagged it from Heritage and carefully thumbed through the book a little bit, and it was really neat feeling and seeing and smelling those pages as they originally were. Well, they weren't aged that bad back in the day, obviously, but over time, of course. But I actually, it brings back a lot of memories of the older comics and takes you back a little bit. So it's a neat experience. Especially, you don't get that with CGC when you grade your books. You don't get to feel the books anymore, and you don't get to thumb through them and enjoy the pages like you really should, honestly. But kind of happy to pick that up. It really wasn't a necessary pickup, but it was something that kind of piqued my interest. And again, it's the oldest Fantastic Four book that I own now. The previous oldest one was issue 19 with Rama Tut. That was a goals list book that I picked up earlier in the year, as it was simply a 3.0. It's a well-presenting 3.0, but I kind of always wanted that book, and unfortunately with the Kang stuff that they're trying to do in the storyline in the MCU these days, any Kang appearances, and that includes Rama Tut, have gone up greatly. And even though I always enjoyed that story, I waited way too long to kind of start collecting it. And maybe right now is the time to collect it, because all that is down. There's not a lot of news on that from the MCU, so maybe now's the time to start looking at that book as well. So anyway, great book, great story. I hope you guys pick up your own copy of this someday. Yeah, nice little book. All right, so we'll continue with the Fantastic Four theme from this particular these purchases I made from Heritage Auctions. In fact, I'm looking at all three of these books tonight, and all of them came from the same week from Heritage Auctions. There wasn't anything that week that I wanted for the real 2023 goals list. I was just looking, and there were some things on there that had kind of piqued my interest, and they weren't that expensive, and neither was this Fantastic Four right here. Mostly because it's not a key, really, but it is a book that I've gotten graded before, because they're at a year ago, this was a book that had a little bit more value. In that $125 to $150 range is a 9.8. This is issue 249 of the Fantastic Four, and is one of my favorite John Byrne covers. And one of the reasons I like this cover so much, well, I always liked this cover right here, but back a couple years ago with the, what was it? It was Heroes United, no, Heroes Return, from when they did the storyline with the I was going to say the Squadron Sinister. That ages me a little bit. The Squadron Supreme and Mephisto, and there was a cover by Patrick Gleason where they had Power Prince. Was it Power Princess? Is that her name? Oh my God, I cannot remember the character. Who is holding up Captain America in a very similar pose to this one right here. Of course, you've got John Byrne doing the story and art. You've got the Gladiator from the X-Men book, and just an absolute beatdown by Gladiator with the Fantastic Four. And you've got scroll appearances, and then you have a big anniversary 250th issue right after that had the X-Men in it. You'll have to read the story. If you've never read the story, you'll understand why I hesitated saying that the X-Men are in it. But it was neat seeing X-Men characters drawn by John Byrne again after his stint with Chris Claremont on the X-Men. But anyway, this book was not expensive to buy, even off of Heritage with their fees and everything. Recent sales have gone in this last month from $71 to about $100 over the last month to 2 months. And it's not really key, but it's kind of a neat book to have. And yeah, these issues in the 240s are actually some really good John Byrne books to get. 244, of course, the first appearance of Frankie Ray as Nova. You've got 243, that great Galactus cover. 245, the first appearance of an adult Franklin Richards, and the name change of the Invisible Girl to the Invisible Woman. Things like that. There's some really good issues right there, and this is definitely one of those. So, inexpensive pickup. So I was happy to get that. And then lastly, it's not on the goals list, but it is one of those that is going to open the door to probably the 2024 goals list. I can already see it coming. It's going to open the door to more DC books, more classic books. I just have not been getting them as much. I picked up a couple things here and there this year, and they're good books. They're just not on that list. Not yet, at least. And this right here, I consider it a starter grade because I didn't pay a lot for this, but in much higher grades, it's a very expensive book. And let me just show it to you. It is Batman 244. It is not one of the key comics with Ra's al Ghul, but it is a key comic in the sense that this is one of the classic Ra's al Ghul covers right here by Neil Adams. And I always love this cover. I always love the art in this. And just one of my favorites. It's not the first appearance of Ra's, not the first appearance of Talia or the League of Assassins or anything like that, but just classic cover, part of that classic storyline from the early 70s. In fact, this is from August of 1972. Denny O'Neill's story, Neil Adams' art. And I pretty much just picked this up because I felt like it was a pretty good value, even at a 4.0, just to kind of get it into the collection, and then I can definitely upgrade later on, and I can have something to, if the market comes back a little bit and there's some more value in this, I'll have something I can trade in with something, I suppose. But ranging right now, 4.0s go from about $84 to $85 up to about $100, depending. That's over the last few months of sales that I've been able to pick up from Heritage Auctions and eBay. So not a high grade, but just a book to kind of get in the collection. And if there was any thought about breaking this open and trying to get a higher grade, right now the value's not in it, but I will tell you this is one of those, I look at the back of this, and while it would definitely benefit from a press, this back cover is definitely got foxing, and it is very dirty. I could take it up the camera, but it's not going to pick it up that well. But it would definitely benefit from a press. I can see some indents there, and there's definitely just a lot of dirt on the back. I don't know. I don't think, with the foxing, I don't think I could really improve this much more. But it might be an interesting candidate. Being such a low cost item, maybe I could bump it up by a grade or two or three. That'd be interesting to look and see if it's actually worth the time to do something like that. In fact, I've got several books like that that I've been considering breaking open and doing a clean and press. But we'll get to that at some point. Maybe this is a candidate that isn't that expensive that I can definitely test out a little bit and see if I can do something with it. But anyway, guys, that's it. It is a short comic book haul with other items included. I hope you enjoyed this today. Let me know in the comments section what you think about everything I picked up today, and if you've got any original artwork or comic strip artwork in your collection. I'd be interested to know if you have any of that, and definitely just let me know what you think of the books today. And if you're ever interested in any of the things I show on the channel, definitely reach out to me at collectorauctions@yahoo.com or DM me on my Instagram account. You can also check out what I currently have for sale in my eBay store or on my Shortbox page. All those links are down below. So guys, check it out. Just let me know if you're ever interested in anything. But that's it. I'm out of here. I hope you enjoyed everything today. I will see you for the next episode. And remember, guys, every comic has a story.